Good day, and welcome to another exciting episode of Twin Takes. I'm the Bray of the South, joined by the Bray of the North. And today we're going to talk about the 1997 film Batman and Robin. Following the global success of Batman Forever, Warner Brothers fast-tracked a sequel for a 1997 release. Val Kilmer would not return as the Caped Crusader. This time it was George Clooney, although returning cast members do include Chris O'Donnell as Robin, Pat Hingle as Commissioner Gordon, and of course Michael Gough as loyal butler Alfred Pennyworth. Joining them would be Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl, Barbara Wilson, and Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, and Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy. As with the other programs we've had here, I do have the toys. These are the recent McFarlane toys. This is Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy. And then I have the action figure for Chris O'Donnell's Robin. So, Batman and Robin. If you look at the structure of the film, it's not too unlike the structure for Batman Forever. We have a supervillain that's causing some problems early on. Batman stops a robbery, but rather than a helicopter fight, as we had with Batman Forever, we have a rocket ship taking off in Batman and Robin, with Batman trapped and Robin saving his bacon. While there were certainly problems with Batman and Robin, and critics certainly didn't care for it, Bat fans certainly didn't care for it when it came out, it did reach the drag community some years later because of Uma Thurman's performance and wonderful makeup, the over-the-top nature and camp feel of the film, which was very different than the camp feel of the 1960s show. The 1960s show, the characters were always two-dimensional. They were never going to have much growth, and each episode was not connected to the previous episode. This, however, is supposed to be connected to the three films that came before, which is problem number one. If you're going to do a kind of a drag Batman, which is awesome, and it's a film that could never be made again, it should have been its own thing. The other thing I will say about the film is that Uma Thurman very much showed up to work that day. She knew exactly what film she was in, and she is incredible in the role of Poison Ivy. Some of the other problems include the fact that Uma Thurman and Arnold Schwarzenegger just did not have the chemistry of Jim Carrey and Tommy Lee Jones in Batman Forever. Tommy Lee Jones hating Jim Carrey is, of course, the stuff of legends. We know that Tommy Lee Jones said to Jim Carrey when they first met, I hate you and I cannot sanction your buffoonery. But nonetheless, when you watch the moments where Tommy Lee Jones and Jim Carrey are together, his hatred turns this into accidental chemistry. For example, there's one moment in Batman Forever in which Jim Carrey's Riddler and Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face are robbing a jewelry store. In the script, Riddler's supposed to take a little eyepiece and hold up a big diamond and say, here's a good one. But Jim Carrey, improvising, left the big diamond alone and picked up a small one saying, here's a good one. And Tommy Lee Jones improvised, picking up a large diamond saying, no, there is a good one. And you can see the reactions that they're having a good time, despite Tommy Lee Jones not wanting to have a good time. The problem with Batman and Robin is that Joel Schumacher wanted the set to be a party. So he would sit down with a big megaphone and shout, remember everybody, it's a cartoon, which is why the performances just get larger and larger and larger. Something more scaled down probably would have worked a little better. And the other issue I have is that the villain stories are not compatible. Freeze wants to turn the world into an ice cube, and Poison Ivy wants to turn it into a jungle. Not compatible. I wish that they had considered making Pamela Isley discover the cure for the McGregor syndrome, a made-up disease for the film, which Mr. Freeze's wife suffers, because then Mr. Freeze would have a reason to be beholden to Poison Ivy. And then the beat where Poison Ivy says, Batman killed your wife to Mr. Freeze, it would have had a lot more gravitas, a lot more weight. There's also an issue that somebody else had pointed out, that the way that the women characters are treated in the Schumacher films are just not as strong as the way Daniel Waters, for example, wrote Catwoman. Why does Mr. Freeze get a redemption at the end, but Pamela Isley does not, even though she was a victim? And those are big problems with the film. There's a lot of eye candy, great costumes, some really nice set pieces, and like I said, there are communities that now defend the film, and I was so happy to be able to get this toy of Poison Ivy because the 1997 toys were very much scaled down. They didn't want to make the character look too vampy, too sexy. I have the action figures somewhere here, but I'm sure you can understand that my Batman and Robin toys are buried. In fact, they used to be on card until my son opened them when he fell in love with the movie Batman and Robin at the age of 6. It failed so bombastically that we would not see another Batman movie until 2005, and a planned 5th film, Batman Triumphant or Batman Unchained, which would have seen Batman go against Scarecrow and Harley Quinn, and in the nightmarish sequence see all of the villains from the previous 4 films. That film never got made. And as we said last time, perhaps if the excised moments from Batman Forever were included in the final version of that film, that Batman and Robin might have been a much different film. George Clooney continues his apology tour for the film, even though he was a perfectly serviceable Bruce Wayne, though not necessarily a great Batman. I think we can agree. And Mr. Clooney, you don't need to apologize anymore. We promise the world has moved on. So that was our Twin Takes review of Batman and Robin. I'm not going to give it a grade. It sort of is its own thing. We don't really consider it part of those first 3 films, which have Burton's name on it, although the 3rd film was really produced by Peter McGregor Scott, who come back for this one. But anyway, that's our Twin Take on Batman and Robin. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.